Okay, folks. So I recognize that in one of my recent videos I used the term like prison industrial complex, and I want to be clear about something. In my worldview, if you are basically born poor, then you need certain kinds of ammunition and armor, psychologically speaking, in order to navigate the world that doesn't necessarily have your best interests in mind, regardless of what your race is, okay? Stay the course with me and you'll figure out what I'm about in an ultimate sense. I may have my blunders, but if I do, I can speak frankly to people and I can delete my stuff and reformulate my content for the sake of persistently uplifting and healing people, okay? I'm not interested in putting anyone at risk. Okay. So I was discussing Cyberpunk 2077 with a friend who is he's basically from a mixed race background, okay, and I'll get into how that's relevant in a moment. He's mainly black and white, specifically black and Irish, and you know, um, something you may not know is that one of the primary creative forces behind Cyberpunk 2077 is Mike Pondsmith, who is a sort of nerdy black gentleman who is clearly brilliant, but maybe not a lot of people know him by name. So I think he deserves to be something of a household name. But my friend and I repeatedly talked about wanting a certain kind of cyberpunk future, and within my personal case, I would maybe like to be a cyborg insofar as by becoming one, I could relieve myself of unwanted stomach issues and, various kinds of maladies. Or it would be nice to have a certain kind of exoskeleton as I perform my night shift job, and that way I wouldn't end my shifts in a state of fatigue at any point or something. Do you know what I mean? So, if you're like, I don't know, a young black kid, then at some point you're going to have to learn about, the prison industrial complex. If you're a young white kid, at some point you're going to have to learn about, white guilt and so on and so forth. So people from different demographics have to learn different things to stay safe in different ways across time. Okay, and I think maybe one of the only proper ways to remedy the problems that are naturally produced from people being inculcated with ideas, outlooks, and worldviews that angle them against each other naturally over time is for there to be some kind of broadly accessible ideal futures forum for everyone where people can vote on a shared future that they want together or something. I'll discuss that in greater depth later. But obviously, the richest man that is known to the public is Elon Musk. And he's been involved in the development of, among other things, Neuralink, which would be, a neural implant. I have my reservations about that. I think on the one hand, it could be a wonderful, say, cognitive enhancer for everyone, especially impoverished people. On the other hand, I don't know if one day maybe a malicious power is going to use it to give you like a sort of 10,000 atom bomb force of cluster headaches if you criticize the president or something. So I really don't know whether or not that's necessarily going to always stay in good hands. But you should look up terms like solar punk and cyberpunk and their associated visual aesthetics and that sort of thing, because these sorts of ideas are crucially involved in the kinds of futures we're going to have at some point, whether in this country or in other places on Earth, okay? So I know that you're just trying to make it through the day or the week in one piece, and that's why we have all kinds of addictions and coping mechanisms in our lives. But at some point you should ask yourself, what do I want this country and world to look like 500 years from today? Okay, do not let news cycles and all kinds of anxiety-inducing nonsense blind you to the sort of future that you want your great-great-grandchildren to grow up in, your greatest grandchildren, that is. If you sit with this question, what do I want the world to look like in 500 years, for long enough, you will start to see new monuments in your mind. I certainly do. And I'm not particularly eager to construct, say, the next Trevi fountain in particular, but that happens to be my favorite work of visual art, and, well, just like me, you should reserve and exercise the right to imagine a brilliantly beautiful future for your eventual descendants, or certainly for the descendants of those you love. Okay, a lot of modern life is, I don't know, it's basically designed to keep you funneling profits to people who want you focused on the next hit of cheap dopamine you can get. And the way in which to fight against that is to conceive of the future you want, ultimately, 10,000 years from today, but I won't discuss how to do that formidably right now. In the meantime, let's just focus on looking up solar punk, cyberpunk, and other, aestheticized versions of the future, okay? Because these things are not just coping mechanisms. They're not just a game. I would actually say that they will sustain you in some of your hardest times. I'm personally a little bit more fond of cyberpunk stuff, but not if it's something that isn't. It needs to be decentralized. It needs to involve like communities crafting technologies for themselves, and not necessarily, some sort of governmentally imposed, state-backed set of aggressively enforced, mind and body control mechanisms and whatnot. But I'm not going to articulate my whole vision there. I haven't ever done that with anyone. I want to never deal with, the problems I deal with, which include tinnitus and stomach issues and other stuff. So, anyway, this is just some food for thought, okay? Once you know about the kinds of futures you're willing to fight for, you can basically survive any kind of adversity that is likely to meet you in your regular life.